Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today we are going to be doing a fat acceptance TikTok. It's pretty recent too. I think it's from, July. Oh my gosh, January 11th. I'm going to just play the whole thing and then we'll go through it piece by piece. She's talking about the former fatty. So
I don't have an issue with fat.
I feel like I have a place to stand.
People losing weight on something like Ozempic or a GLP-1, right? It's your body, it's your choice. Do whatever feels right. I have been on a GLP-1 for almost 2 years for my PCOS, okay? No judgment in that sense. However, what upsets me is the fact that fat people seem to forget that they were fat. I have seen creators say terrible things about what they used to look like, try to completely erase that version of them, like they weren't that person. But you were, babe. You were fat at one point, so you know how it feels, and you know what it's like for someone on the other side who might be that size you were in the before photo watching that video and hearing you go, oh my God, I can't believe I look like that. I was disgusting. Babe, just because you're thin doesn't mean you need to be fatphobic. What? Because I know that there are people watching those videos that struggle with themselves already, and they're going to people like you who looked like them at one point for confidence and to feel relatable. And however, you're sitting there now bashing that version that got you the platform in the first place. I don't know, it just sucks to lose a fat baddie to fat phobia. It truly does. And fatties are already having a hard time in the Ozempic era, and so I don't know. Don't forget who you were. And that fat version of you was a version of you who deserved to be loved and seen and feel good, not torn down. Look, I don't have an issue.
Okay, so just to start with, I feel like it's not necessarily something that needs to be enforced. Like, I feel like she's trying to enforce fat identity on somebody. And this is something that I would actually suggest deconstructing even while you're still fat. You should be loosening the grip. I encourage it actively on this channel when you're in that mid-size era. I've called it a mid-size princess crisis many times because you tend to have like a very princess in the pea mentality at that phase of weight loss. And you have to shake off the fat identity. So people that have a mid-sized princess crisis in downsizing is because they cannot shed the identity. So you need to weaken it when you're bigger. She's encouraging people to strengthen it even after they've lost weight. So she's kind of encouraging mid-sized princess energy, like telling me that I should really still identify with being fat years down the line, 160 pounds down. I don't agree. I think this is a bad take. I think it's a take that sounds good, but it actually isn't. And it's not a take that will lead to success, which is kind of the point. And it's also why a lot of ex-fatties or former fats or whatever they're called, we'll call them the evil brujas on this channel, like myself. In fact, stop the hat. I'm not like feeling super aggressive though, so I'm not going to wear it, but it's there. My black cat is purring. But anyways, we're all evil because we've committed witchcraft, because it's not supposed to be possible, but we tend to point out failing strategies. This is a failing mindset. I'm not saying that you're a failure. I'm saying that your mindset is a failure. This is a mindset of somebody who is not going to succeed in downsizing. That's probably the most logical or curt way I could put it. This will lead you to fail.
With fat people losing weight on something like Ozempic or a GLP-1, right? It's your body, it's your choice.
Okay, well, that's just basic. That's kind of a nothing statement to me. Would you have an issue with somebody losing weight naturally like I did? Or is that the brujeria? it's interesting to me, the way that that's said. It's like, I would assume that you're okay with it, unless if you're just really weird, you know, or super fat activisty. But a lot of them, they've gone into a defensive mode this year. I don't know if she's totally a fat activist, but what I'm saying is, like, in general, fat activists have taken a more defensive approach, and all of a sudden it's your choice what you want to do again in the good old year 2026. So again, I don't have a memory of a goldfish. I remember how it used to be talked about. It's very interesting to me. But when she says, I don't care if you use Ozempic, it's like, okay, well, do you care if somebody does it naturally then? Like, it's just it's a bizarre statement to open a video with.
Always do whatever feels right. I've been on a GLP-1 for almost 2 years for my PCOS, okay? No judgment in that sense. However, what upsets me is the fact that fat people seem to forget that they were fat. I have seen creators say terrible things.
So there's a couple of reasons for this. Like, in my case, it's not that I've forgotten, but I have to actively work to remember all the time. I have documented the entire process, in part because it is so hard to remember. And I don't think that she can understand that, because she hasn't actually downsized successfully or maintained. But when you have, you really start to forget, because it's not pleasant. I don't remember all the physical pains. Even a year since my mid-sized princess era started, I don't remember all of how I felt emotionally. I feel totally different now. Totally different. I'm in a completely different emotional state than I was a year ago. I just went through a decently long anhedonia spell, and it's gone now. And it's like, I'm feeling feelings I haven't felt in a long time. And I'm listening to Taylor Swift, which I always do, but it's like I'm listening to How You Get the Girl. It's a really cheesy song, and it's like very romantical and cheesified, and it's just a different vibe than how I felt in a long time, because my anhedonia is going away. It's like I can listen to it and I start tearing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's like, it's really gay. It's totally different than how I felt when I was a mid-sized princess. When I was a mid-sized princess, I was miserable. I was like very fault-finding all the time. I was extremely impatient. And this is all like emotional. I also had people constantly challenging me, people constantly picking fights with me. I had suddenly lost all credibility in terms of fatness. And a lot of people go through something like that. So a lot of people, they're being told, well, you don't know anything about it anymore. Da, da, da. So when they're on social media and stuff, they're just like, okay, yeah, I don't. Fine, I don't then. Because they don't want to go back, and they're just like, whatever. Like, I don't think that she could even, like, this is my stance. I don't like it when people like this critique something that they've never been through, in that sense. Because it's very difficult to downsize publicly. So if you're talking about people who are doing it online, it's kind of brutal. Even in people's personal lives, it's not encouraged. It's very taboo in a lot of cases. Not in every single case, but if you've been very big for very long, it's going to probably be a little bit of a jarring experience socially. And so you do it online. If you do it online, and people are really weird. And a lot of times people are not prepared for that. They're confused. They don't have the temperament. I'm a pretty introverted person, so I don't have as much of a need for approval as other people do. But it's very challenging. So it's like you have the layer of physical challenge, you have the layer of social challenge, you have the layer of procedural challenge. So like the actual process is difficult. So like even when you're in that vanity weight era, it's difficult procedurally. You don't have time to think about how you felt when you were fat every day, unless if you're crazy like me. Most people are not going to do that. They're just not. And I don't even think they necessarily should. I think you can if you want to get into this cause and be an anti-fat acceptance activist. You guys know I totally support you. But you don't have to. And the average person is not an activist. They're not going to. So they're going to forget. It's a lot of discipline at a certain point. It's a lot of emotional stuff for a lot of people. It's a lot of social issues with people. It's a lot of physical problems. So you can only hold so much in your mind at the same time. Even me, I still forget it sometimes. I forget some things. Like I just remembered yesterday, like I used to have sleep apnea. I had forgotten. I was like, whoa. I used to have that. I used to struggle to sleep at night because I had sleep apnea. Or just now when I thought about that, I used to have knee pain. I don't anymore. I used to have foot pain. I don't anymore. You do start to forget. And it's actually, there is something to be said about remembering where you came from, because you need to acknowledge your progress. But there's a reason why people feel like they're not making progress a lot, or they feel like it's never good enough. It's because you forget. I don't know if it's a psychological thing or like your body just, it's like your body was just so unhappy being that big. It's like your brain just tries to shut it out, basically. So people are not necessarily just acting that way just to be bitchy or like out of some kind of personal thing. If you downsized significantly and kept it off for a year, you would forget. I'm certain you would start to forget certain things. I challenge you guys, if you guys have downsized, try to remember something about when you were really big that changed. Because I guarantee you probably haven't thought about it in a long time. And so you forget.
About what they used to look like. Try to completely erase that version of them, like they weren't that person.
You don't have to try. It just kind of happens. Like, I just did a video recently where I showed like before and after pictures, and when I looked at it, I remember how I felt. Like, I remember me at my biggest, like I couldn't fit in my car. I will never forget the feeling of not being able to breathe because my stomach was pushing on my lungs in the car. It was a horrible feeling. I felt so trapped in those situations. And when I think about it, I can remember how awful it felt when I had to like get out of the car and get in the car and get out of the car. And it was really, really hard. And I had to like, it's like you go to the grocery store, you're out of breath. It's hard to do anything. Like, I was very, very, very unwell too, in addition to being so huge. And now I've realized I have a small frame. So that 383 on me at 6'1", it was probably drastically worse than for somebody who has a wide frame. I have a small frame. So I was significantly overweight. There's like extremely significantly overweight. There's a reason I was dying, because it was really, really bad. And I've even had to, now seeing that, I have to revisit my goals and be like, I think I actually have to go further, because bones don't lie. But how could I see the bones if I wasn't a healthy weight or even close to it? You know what I'm saying? So I think even for me, health-wise, I probably have to go down a bit further than I was intending, because I have a small frame. Well, shit. But I told you guys, my next era, I still consider it vanity, but it's going to be much slower and easier. I'm going to talk about how to make it as easy as possible, basically, in my opinion. But we'll get into that soon. But that's what I'm looking towards, because I'm probably going to do a much more shallow style, and maybe like only 8 weeks at a time, you know, it's going to be very different than how it was. I'm never doing it the way I did it, you know, before, because I don't have to go fast. I don't have to do the 2 pounds per week type of vibe. I don't have to do that anymore because I'm not like in a dangerous health position. I'm fine, you know? So I'm just going to kind of do it leisurely. But I probably have to lose like 20 more pounds. Honestly, if we want to be real about it, 20 to 30 more than I thought. Because I'm a small frame. So that's been something I've been dealing with on a personal level since I realized that I'm a small frame person. So do you think that when I'm thinking about all that, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to really obsess over how I felt in 2021? It's like I'm so far away from that. Everything is different now. You know, it's like, I'll have to get into the small frame thing in another video, but it's just crazy. It really is. It's a crazy thing. It's something I didn't expect, but it is what it is.
But you were, babe. You were fat at one point, so you know how it feels.
I made a whole channel about it. I'm not ashamed of it or anything. I show it. You know, I don't feel anything particularly strong about it. Because to me, it's... Sometimes I think about it and I'm just like, gosh, like... that was really a thing for a long time. But when you let go of it in your mind, you don't... It's like you really see it wasn't a part of who you are. And she doesn't want that for you. I want that for you. That's a successful mindset. I have succeeded. Because I don't identify with being fat. So I don't see it as a part of who I am. I don't see it as a part of who she is. I don't see it as a part of who anybody is. That's a successful mindset. This is a failing one.
And you know what it's like for someone on the other side who might be that size you were in the before photo, watching that video and hearing you go, oh my God, I can't believe I look like that. I was disgusting. Babe, just because you're thin doesn't mean you need to be fatphobic. What?
I don't think I was disgusting. I think that that's too much. I think a lot of people say things like that because they're encouraged to be, there's kind of like this like cultural thing where it's like you have to be so humble, you know, you have to be so humble about the fact that you downsize. So I think they're kind of trying to be, and they kind of overshoot it. Because I feel like a lot of people aren't necessarily disgusted. That's a little too strong. They're just probably like, oh my gosh. Or they think about like the lack of discipline, or they think about like the neglect, or like there's these deeper feelings that come with it, and it's just easier to say I'm disgusted. But it's like a lot of people don't want to sit here and like talk about everything and go super deep publicly and be like, I felt so horrible in that position. I didn't care for myself when I was that way. When I saw the picture, I'm like, I was so uncomfortable. I was just so uncomfortable. Let me actually show the picture again, just so you guys can see it, what I'm talking about. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about in terms of like, I feel like I was so uncomfortable here. I remember how ill I was. And it's like, you don't even care about like how you dressed at all. Like, I think about how these shorts, they were not my colors at all, but I was completely blind to like the fact that I was in autumn and stuff. So I just dressed really crappy all the time because I was so ill, I couldn't even tell. I think about how I didn't know if I was going to make it that year. I mean, it's bad. Am I supposed to lie to you and tell you that I felt amazing? Because I didn't. You know, that is one thing I always talk to you guys about from the beginning. I have never glorified obesity, ever. But do you notice I don't talk as much about health issues as I did when I was obese, if you guys have been on the channel? Because they went away. The complaints changed. Things became different. It's real.
Because I know that there are people watching those videos that struggle with themselves already, and they're going to people like you who looked like them at one point for confidence and to feel relatable, and however you're sitting there now bashing that version that got you the platform in the first place. I don't know, it just sucks to lose a fat.
So I don't think that you have to be like bashing yourself. I think that's too much. Like I said, I think it's a little bit of an overcompensation, or it's like maybe they feel really proud of themselves today and they don't want to just say that, so they'll just bash themselves. I would say just say that you're proud of yourself today. You know, I am. I'm very proud. I feel great about, I told you I had a smug era and everything over December and stuff, and a lot of people didn't like me because I felt smug. And I was like, I was right. I could keep the weight off, and I did. I'm doing it, you know. It's like I'm still doing it. So it's like when you tell people they have to be so humble, then they bash how they were. Do you see how I don't bash how I was? I just speak honestly about it. There's no need to bash. It can just be realistic, but it's the same. It's because I don't feel a need to be overly humble today. That's why. So again, a lot of y'all in fat acceptance, body positivity, the TR, on the channel we talk about it. The TR is toxic ritualistic. It has to do with E followed by the letter D. It's a coded term for it. And when you're in that too, it's like you expect humility. And I was so lucky. This was so lucky. I don't know how it happened to me. Or it's Ozempic only. Ozempic is the only way, you know. I noticed that. And how she talked about it in the beginning of the video. I didn't use Ozempic. But it's like, when you pressure people to talk like that, then they're going to say that they were disgusting. Because you don't get to control everything. When you tell somebody they have to be so humble, they might overshoot the goal. And I think that's what happens a lot of the time. Because they probably feel a lot better about themselves. They feel great about themselves. And they're told that they shouldn't. So they kind of overcompensate and say, well, I was disgusting before. But they probably don't feel that way. It's just like a compensation. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be an arrogant asshole now. So I'll just say that. But again, you guys, you put that pressure on people and then you still don't like the result. So I just say the opposite. I'm like, no, I'm very proud of myself today. I feel great. But by the same token, I don't feel disgusted by my before picture. I don't. I just remember how awful it felt. And I felt really, really, really horrible. Like, just in ways that I thankfully, I never feel that way anymore. I never do.
Fat baddie to fat phobia. It truly does. And fatties are already having a hard time. And those
fat baddies, it's not real. It's a bunch of BS. You feel like crap. And most of the time you don't have the best self-esteem. And it's not really all that real. It's kind of like the cool girl trope, you know? It's not real. Same thing with fat baddie. It's not real.
Era, and so, I don't know. Don't forget who you were. And that fat version of you was a version of you who...
You can forget it. I'm giving you permission to forget it. I just ask that you don't ever gatekeep and don't ever lie to somebody or, like, encourage the toxic ritualistic in somebody else. Don't ever affirm that. So if somebody says something stupid like, my weight is genetic, don't give them credit. That's what I ask of you. But as far as your own self, if you forget certain things, I get it. It's just not your reality anymore.
Deserve to be loved and seen and feel good.
We don't have to obsess over it to that extent, or we have to think about how I in 2021 deserve to be loved and felt and seen and whatever. I mean, that is just, even for me, like, I'm a super, like, very, like, spiritual girly pop to the max. Like, I had amethyst crystal on this table. I don't know where it is now. Like, I'm one of those. I'm an astro girly pop. I think about the fact there's an Aquarius stellium going on right now and all this crap. And even for me, that is a lot for me to be like, this version of me from 5 years ago deserved to be loved and seen, whatever. It's like, what is the point? And for me to say that, I think almost everybody's going to say it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a good one. Bye.